good on its face, but we all know it doesn't work. But what are your solutions? What are you going to do that's concrete? Stop saying capitalism, capitalism. Hey, look, man, we're not going to pay down the GDP. That's just creating jobs. I mean, there's a lot of competition out there, and all the tariffs and all this, and all these games going on. So we all know that we're never going to pay it off with GDP, just creating jobs and all that. That's not going to be the only answer. Okay, you got to talk about gaining control over the issuance of currency, revisiting 1963, okay, and getting rid of the Federal Reserve. We've got to talk about revisiting 2008, recent history, just 10 years ago, okay, and have a reset in our economy, a true capitalism, a market correction. Okay, that's what that is. So that your dollar goes up in worth from that point. But are we talking about it? I mean, what's Alex Jones doing to talk about this stuff, or having guests on to say, look, it's something, it's going to take something very dramatic, something very profound, in order to turn this thing around, man. Because in the meantime, the poor are going to continue to take the brunt of this and suffer the most. The heat is on them when they don't deserve it. They're the least culpable. They have the least amount of power and clout in the land. They're the weak links, financially oppressed, financially poor, downtrodden. That's who it's picking on. It hurts them worse when you debase the currency, clip the coins, raise their cost of living tax. Duh. Come on, let's just be intellectually honest. You don't have to be smart. Yeah, I've just made notes here about. I go on about this mess we're in, socially, politically, and economically speaking. This division in our land. And, it's we're really are gonna need God's help. That's it. I just it's not gonna be done at the hand of men. And men taking credit and glory for this thing. It's not gonna happen. It's gonna depend on God to empower us. It's got to be the right time in history. So there's these debates about affirmative action. In Europe they actually say it more the way it is. It's less obfuscated. It's they say reverse discrimination. So it is. It's anytime you play favorites, by default, automatically you discriminate against somebody else because they don't have the right color. You understand? The right gender, the right nationality, whatever it may be, the right status. Okay, and it is discrimination, and it should be done away with. It doesn't help any of us to allow these undocumented workers to be taken advantage of. This is bad for all of us. And we're setting a bad example for other nations, too. If we're going to get our act together, we better get damn serious. And so far, we have not. I'm going to get on to some thoughts from this past week. With this very frightening, even foreboding runaway train of perpetual currency debasement via steady cost of living tax inflation, the only human hope I see is if the housing industry starts the ball rolling, takes a huge financial hit, at least perceived thusly, by real estate holders and sets the ball rolling in the opposite direction of currency debasement, which is currency deworthment, and the opposite is to continue to instead of debasing our currency, we got to go the other way, folks. This is anti-progress. This is regression. And somebody's got to start the ball rolling. That's the point I'm trying to make there, is that we got to start somewhere. And the housing industry has been most culpable in inflating our cost of living, causing this chain reaction. Well, hey, if your rent or your mortgage goes up, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that your income has to go up. Your pay has to go up. Okay, you need a cost of living adjustment. You need a raise. So that's what I mean about this chain reaction. For whatever commodity or services you offer or combination thereof, it's got to go up. It's like, duh. Okay, so let's just be intellectually honest, not smart. You don't have to be smart to figure this out. Okay, but somebody's got to start here. Somebody's got to at least take a perceived hit. But understand, when the price of anything goes down, that means the worth of your currency went up. That's a way to look at it. And then somebody else says, well, you know what? I don't need to be making these profits. The reason I needed all this money was because I had a high mortgage or I had a high rent, and suddenly my rent dipped a little. So I'm not going to be gouging people and just, getting rich and just, being self-satisfied and in my numbers going up and being greedy. And I'm not that person. So then somebody else lowers their price for their services or commodities. Do you understand how this thing could work in reverse? It could work, but we've got to understand we're a big deal. I mean, it's not a joke. I'm not just talking about fanciful stuff. I'm talking about serious issues that affect us profoundly, socially, politically, and economically speaking. It's a big deal for this thing to turn around. And the only way I see it happening is if God empowers us to do it. I really mean that. I really, really, really mean that. If we humans are to successfully contend with the overtly bizarre nature of this so-called reality which has been shoved down our collective throats from birth, we must learn to become comfortable with a profound paradox. How on one hand, to do as Jesus proclaimed we ought to do, as he said, quote, you must hate your life in this world, end quote, in order to have eternal life, end quote, there. Understanding that until his blessed return, metaphorical or literal, Satan or the spirit of evil thereof, along with an army of evildoers, are still running the show. On the other hand, we must not only secure our right to pursue happiness, but see the pursuit and eventual attainment of absolute, unconditional, utter, universal freedom as a duty, a responsibility, an obligation. Yeah, that's the happiness. Got to be free. Can be no equivocation. Can't say yes, except for over here. We've got to keep you financially enslaved to some degree. How would society run? Well, figure it out, because eventually that's how it's going to run when God is running the show. That's how it's going to run, man. There's not going to be any money. It's just a competitor. It just wrecks. It's just a big fat fly in the ointment of humanity's well-being. That's all it is, man. Has there been a period in history when we've ever successfully contended with this substance? It's satanic, man. The power is satanic. We cannot coexist with this crap in perpetuity. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse as I speak. Our situation, man, we're getting deeper. California, the guinea pig state. Our cost of living tax keeps going up, and wages aren't keeping up with it. $15 an hour is a joke. You need like $100 an hour now to buy a house, man. Literally. That's barely hyperbolic. Barely exaggerated. Have you ever considered that what you do for humanity for free may in fact be far more important than what you do for humanity for money? That's how I see my own life. I see what I'm doing with this video series here that I do for free. I wouldn't have it any other way. I see it as vastly more important than what I do for humanity. What I do for humanity, I can be replaced drop of a hat. I know that. I'm under no illusions. Most vast majority, everybody could be replaced like that. There's nobody's job that's so important that if they dropped off the face of the earth tomorrow, that there's not somebody rushed right in there to do that job. But the stuff we do for free, just being a friend to humanity, to be a peacemaker, to try to unify humanity, that's priceless. You're going to be rewarded. That is being God's friend. That is a pretty cool. That you're going to feel the joy, man. You're going to get it. You're going to get your reward. Pray tell, who in their right mind would object to the idea that this planet rightfully belongs to all of us? And as such, we should enjoy our God given right to a share of our planet's inherent wealth and resources. That's a rhetorical question because nobody in their right mind would object to that. Only if you're evil would you object to that status quo, that state. Just because one is economically liberal in no way suggests that they cannot simultaneously be fiscally conservative, prudent. That's how I see myself. People, he talks about a basic, he's a socialist, and he doesn't want to admit he's a socialist. In his mind, that's the S word, and he knows he'll face consternation from the right-wing conservatives if he, with this, minimum guaranteed income. Well, what is Social Security? How many people out there that wouldn't believe in a basic income are glad to accept their Social Security checks even when they don't need them? And they know the program, they keep saying it's in danger. I mean, if you're rich and you don't need it, why collect it? Well, they're giving it away. I'm taking it. It's mine. I earned it. So, yeah, I'm going to take it even though, I just don't care about others and I don't want anybody else to have a basic income. All I care about is myself. The less other people have, the more for me. That's good. You let them struggle. That'll help them keep prices down. The poor, if you want the poor to survive, okay, you have some welfare out there for them. Better have that Section 8. You better keep that in there because eventually the vast majority of Americans are going to need, if we keep on this trajectory, just like California, the vast majority of Californians are going to need that housing subsidy in old age, okay, in order to survive, to continue to exist, to pay their cost of living tax. It's bad. Whether we like it or not, they're dragging us down the path of socialism, okay, for the poor, for the peeps at large, okay, regular everyday Joes, working class, labor class, working poor, those kind of people, okay. It's bad, man. We're in a lot of trouble, my friends. A lot of trouble. And all this conservative liberal nonsense, that's all it is, man. Because I tell you what, man, I'd give you a dramatic tax cut. I know we could do it. If you had a guaranteed basic income, we had no financially desperate people in the land, you're going to see crime plummet. How much would you save on your taxes? Okay, when all those jobs in law enforcement, in the jailing and prison industry, and all the clerks and all the attorneys, all the judges and all that, when there's no justification for those taxes being paid to those entities anymore. Okay, so yes, you could have a dramatic tax reduction. Plenty enough to pay a basic income. And remember this, it goes into people's hands that are going to go out there and spend it. If they feel secure and it's coming back around, what's going to stop them from being consumers and going out there and spending money at your business, for your services? Do you understand how it would be super good for the economy, okay, for people to feel secure, that cash flow, the velocity of currency would be realized, actualized in society. So, yeah, you could dramatically reduce your taxes, far less than what you're paying right now with a basic income for everybody. And that's, the predicate, again, is just this idea that the planet is everybody's. So let's do it with a Tobin tax. Everybody's trading on natural resources on Wall Street and all the accumulated assets that belong to everybody, because all the people that are responsible for all these assets, the infrastructure and technology, are dead and gone. So they belong to everybody by inherited right. We all have a right to share in everything, the wealth of our nation. If your financial numbers continue to increase, then obviously, axiomatically, empirically speaking, you are not paying down the national debt. On the other hand, if your numbers are in decline, obviously, axiomatically, and empirically speaking, you are paying the national debt. The struggling working class and poor have been arbitrarily selected for debt repayment.